Good evening, class, and welcome to Lesson 3.4, Rounding Decimals. Let's begin by taking a look at our essential question. It says, how can you use place value to round decimals to a given place? Well, let's begin answering that essential question by taking a look at our Unlock the Problem. The gold frog of South America is one of the smallest frogs in the world. It is 386,000th of an inch long. What is this length rounded to the nearest hundredth of an inch? So first we're going to underline the length of the gold frog. Well, it said our gold frog is 386 thousandths of an inch long. Then it asks, is the frog's length about the same as the length or the width of a large paper clip? Well, that's a good question. So one way we're going to use to answer our essential question is to use a place value chart. So it says to write the number in a place value chart and circle the digit in the place value to which you want to round. So we're going to think, does the digit in the rounding place stay the same or increase by 1? Well, that's what we need to look at. So in the place value chart, underline the digit to the right of the place to which you are rounding. So we're looking, it says our question is, what is this length rounded to the nearest hundredths? So it says to underline the digit to the right of the place to which we are rounding. Well, we're going to be rounding to the hundredths place. Our place value to the right of that then is the thousandth or the 6. So it says if the digit to the right is less than 5, the digit in the place value to which you are rounding, and remember we are rounding to our hundredth spot, stays the same. If the digit to the right is 5 or greater, the digit in the rounding place increases by 1. Well, let's look. We are rounding to the hundredths. Our neighbor is a 6. Remember, 5 or more raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So since 6 is greater than 5, we need to increase our hundredth spot by 1. And 8 increased by 1 equals 9. And then we drop the digits. We replace those with 0 after the place to which you're rounding. So the nearest 100th of an inch, a gold frog is about 0.39 of an inch long. Another way that we can answer our essential question is to use place value. The little grass frog is the smallest frog in North America. It is 437,000th of an inch long. So what is the length of the frog to the nearest hundredths of an inch? And remember, that's what we're rounding to, so we need to make sure we circle hundredths of an inch. So we know that with 0.437,000, our 3 is in our hundredths spot. Well, in order to round, we now need to take a look at what is to the right of it. And we see the 7 is to the right of it. And remember our saying, 5 or more, raise the score, 4 or less, let it rest. And we see that our 7 is greater than 5. So we need to increase our 3 by 1. And 3 increased by 1 is 4. Bring down our other 4 in our 10th spot. And then our 1,000th spot we just get rid of. So to the nearest thousandth of an inch, the frog is about 44 hundredths of an inch long. So what is the length of the frog to the nearest 10th? Now we're rounding to the 10th. So we need to take our frog at 437 thousandths. We need to find the place value that we are rounding to, and we are rounding to the 10th. So in order to round to the 10th, we need to take a look to the right of our neighbor. Remember, 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. And since we see that 3 is less than 5, we are letting our 4 rest. So to the nearest tenth of an inch, the frog is about 4/10 of an inch long. All right, let's take a look at another example. It says the Goliath frog is the largest frog in the world. It is found in the country of Cameroon in West Africa. The Goliath frog can grow to be 11 and 815,000 inches long. How long is the Goliath frog to the nearest inch? Oh, this is going to be difficult because now we're going to the nearest inch, which puts us in our ones column. So we're going to write 11 and 815,000 in the place value chart. So let's begin there. So we have 11 and 815,000 in the place value chart. Next it says to find the place to which you want to round. Circle the digit. Well, remember, we're rounding to the nearest inch, to the nearest whole number. So now we need to circle our nearest whole number, and that is our 1. And then it says to underline the digit to the right of the place value. And we see that our digit to the right is our 8, so we would underline our 8. And remember, 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So we see that our 8 is greater than 5, so in order to finish, we have to increase our 1 by 1, which takes our ones place to 2, bring down our 1 in our tens place, and we drop all the other numbers. So to the nearest inch, the Goliath frog is about 12 inches long. So it says, explain why any number less than 12 and a half and greater than or equal to 11 and a half would round to 12 when rounded to the nearest whole number. Well, remember, we're looking at the numbers. So anything less than 12 would be 12.4, 12.3, 12.2, and 12.1. And you see that all of these numbers are less than 5. So we would let it rest. So then we would just stick with our 12. We wouldn't have to raise the score. However, if we have 11 and a half, 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, or 11.9, you see that all these numbers are 5 or more, which means that we would have to increase our 11 by 1. 11 increased by 1 equals 12. And that's why both sets of numbers would round to 12. Now we're going to try this. And it says to round 14 and 603,000 to the nearest hundredths. So first thing we're going to do is write that number in our place value chart. And that would be 14 and 603 thousandths. Now remember, we need to circle where it is that we're rounding to, and we are rounding to our hundredth spot, which means we need to look to the right. So if we look to the right, we see that the digit to the right is a 3. 3 is less than 5, and the saying is 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So it looks like we will not be doing anything to our hundredth spot. So 14 and 603 thousandths to the nearest hundred would be 14 and 60 hundredths. Now, to the nearest whole number, we would have to rewrite that in there, and that would be 14 and 603 thousandths. Now, our nearest whole number is going to be the first number to the left of the decimal. And we see the first number to the left of the decimal is a 4. So in order to answer this, we have to look to its neighboring right. We see that the digit is 6. 5 or more, raise the score. So we're going to have to raise our score by 1, which makes it a 5. Bring down our 1 in the tens, drop all the other numbers. So 14 and 603,000 rounded to the nearest whole number is 15. Let's finish this lesson off by looking at our problem solving on page 120. And it asks, the speeds of two insects when rounded to the nearest whole number are the same. Which two insects are they? So we have to look at two over here that when we round them to the nearest whole number, and remember the whole number is going to be the number to the left of the decimal. So when we're rounding this column over here, when we round that ones column, which two insects are going to round the same? Go ahead and record that answer in there. And then it asks, what is the speed of the housefly rounded to the nearest hundredths? And we see that our housefly has a speed of 3.934, and we're wanting to know what it would be if it were rounded to the nearest hundredths. So go ahead and answer those two problems. Be sure you record it in your book and bring it with you to class tomorrow. I'll see you then.